The city of Virelia was unlike any other place in the galaxy. Towering crystal towers shimmered under the light of 3 suns, and skyways hummed with the quiet passage of sleek hovercrafts. People of countless alien species moved about in a harmony of color and sound, each species proud of its own history and achievements. Yet amidst all this splendor, humans were rare. Their presence was often met with curiosity, sometimes admiration, but more often with doubt. After all, humans were considered fragile, quiet, and simple compared to the advanced civilizations that dominated the galaxy. Arya moved through the busy streets with her usual grace. She was known across Virelia for her skill as an engineer, for her clever mind, and for her diplomatic talent. Today, however, she felt a flutter of nerves. She was not attending a council meeting or inspecting a new energy grid. She was walking toward her new home with Kale, her husband. Kale was human, and he was quiet. Unlike Arya, he did not draw attention with flashy clothing or bold gestures. His hair, dark and straight, fell over thoughtful eyes that seemed to notice everything but reveal nothing. His steps were measured, calm, and confident in a way that most found strange. He spoke only when necessary, and even then, his words were deliberate and meaningful. Some people called him boring. Others said he was mysterious. To Arya, he was perfect. They reached the small home that Kale had chosen for them, a modest dwelling at the edge of the city, surrounded by a garden of softly glowing plants. Arya had been used to palaces and towering residences with mechanical servants and shimmering walls of light. But this house was warm, human in its simplicity, and somehow comforting. "You like it?" Kale asked quietly. Standing at the door, Arya smiled. "It's perfect. It feels alive." Kale's lips curved in the slightest smile. He opened the door, and together they stepped inside. The house smelled of fresh wood and herbs, with sunlight spilling through wide windows. There were no grand machines or flashy gadgets, but everything was in order, placed with care. Arya's engineer mind appreciated the quiet efficiency, the simple elegance. For the first few days, life moved slowly. Arya worked in her lab during the day, often returning with new ideas and devices. Kale, meanwhile, tended to the garden, repaired small things in the house, or simply sat quietly, observing the world with patient attention. The neighbors were curious about the human who had married one of the city's brightest engineers. They watched Kale as he moved through the streets, silent but steady, and whispered their guesses about his abilities. Some speculated he was a genius, hiding behind quiet manners. Others thought him ordinary, perhaps even foolish, for not seeking attention in a society that valued display and competition. Arya ignored the whispers. She had known Kale for years, and she trusted him completely. There was a calm in him that balanced her restless energy, a quiet strength that she had learned to rely on. She often found herself watching him with admiration, wondering how someone so quiet could feel so powerful. One evening, as the suns dipped below the horizon and painted the city in shades of orange and violet, Arya returned home to find Kale sitting in the garden. He was holding a small, intricate plant that glowed softly, adjusting its leaves with care. "Kale," Arya said, dropping her bag and walking over. "How do you make it look so easy?" Kale looked up, his eyes reflecting the last light of the setting suns. "I pay attention," he said simply. "I watch. I learn. Then I act." Arya laughed softly. "That is very human of you, isn't it?" Kale tilted his head slightly. "Maybe. But humans are capable of more than people believe." His words made Arya pause. She had always known humans were underestimated, but Kale carried a quiet confidence that hinted at something deeper. She wondered what he meant, and yet she trusted that one day she would understand. The next morning, they visited the city's central plaza, a vast space filled with fountains and sculptures. Aliens of all kinds walked, hovered, and even floated, showcasing skills and abilities that left humans in awe. Kale moved among them unnoticed, blending into the crowd with ease. But Arya noticed how his eyes missed nothing: the subtle signals of danger, the hints of opportunity, the small gestures that others overlooked. "Do you see that?" she asked, pointing at a group of traders arguing over the value of rare crystals. Kale nodded. Yes, humans are quiet observers, but we notice more than we let on. That is our strength, Arya smiled, realizing that his silence was not a flaw but a gift. While others rushed to speak or act, KL waited, understanding situations fully before making a move. Days turned into weeks, and life continued quietly. Arya became absorbed in her work, designing devices that could help improve city life, while Kale quietly helped the neighbors, repaired small machines, and tended to the garden. People slowly began to notice him not for loud displays, but for the small acts of competence and kindness that spoke louder than words. One afternoon, while Arya was testing a new device that could project holographic maps of the galaxy, KL quietly approached her. You spend so much time looking outward, he said. Sometimes the most important things are right in front of you. Arya paused and looked at him. Like what? Like the people around you, he said, gesturing to the small garden outside, where neighbors waved or smiled as they passed by. And like the life we are building together. Arya felt a warmth in her chest. Kale's words were simple, but they carried weight. In a city of noise and brilliance, he reminded her of the beauty in quiet, the power in patience, and the strength in observation. That evening, as the sun set and the stars began to twinkle, Arya realized something important. She had not married an ordinary human. She had married someone who held a depth and power that the galaxy had yet to see. And though he was silent, she knew that his actions would one day speak louder than words ever could. Little did she know, that day was closer than she imagined. The quiet human she married was about to show the galaxy what it truly meant to be remarkable. And in the stillness of their small home, with the city glowing softly in the distance, a sense of anticipation hung in the air, a quiet promise that everything was about to change. The city of Virelia thrived under the brilliance of its advanced technology. Streets glowed softly with embedded lights, and the hum of hovercrafts filled the air like a quiet song. Arya had grown used to this rhythm. But lately, she sensed a tension beneath the calm. Rumors floated through the city like drifting pollen talks of a galactic council that would soon arrive, deciding which species could participate in critical interstellar matters. Humans, being rare and underestimated, were often mentioned with doubt. Kale remained quiet as ever, tending to their garden and observing the world with patient eyes. But Arya noticed subtle changes in him. His calm gaze lingered on passing officials and traders longer than usual. He listened more intently when council representatives spoke in the city plaza. Even when he appeared relaxed, his presence carried a sense of awareness that few could match. One afternoon, while Arya worked on a device designed to map energy flows in the city, Kale entered the lab, carrying a small package wrapped in glowing fabric. I found this near the market, he said softly. Someone left it for you. Arya opened it to find a small, intricate crystal that pulsed with a gentle light. She had never seen anything like it. Where did it come from? She asked. Kale shrugged. I do not know. But whoever sent it clearly wanted you to have it. Arya studied the crystal carefully. Its light seemed to respond to her movements, shifting in hue when she touched it. It's beautiful, she whispered. And powerful. Kale nodded, his eyes serious. Be careful. Not everyone in this city will understand humans or their intentions. Arya frowned. What do you mean? Some species look at humans and see weakness, Kale said. They underestimate what we can do, what we might achieve. That can be dangerous. Arya's mind raced. She had always known humans were undervalued. But hearing Kale say it with such quiet certainty made her pause. There was more to him than met the eye, more to humans than the galaxy had realized. That evening, the Galactic Council arrived. Delegates from dozens of species filled the city plaza, each representing their home worlds. They moved with precision and authority, their uniforms glowing with insignias of rank. The council's presence cast a hush over the city. Even Arya's colleagues, usually busy and confident, walked with a certain caution. KL stood beside her, silent and still. While others whispered and gestured, he simply watched. His eyes scanned the crowd, taking in every detail. The way the delegates communicated without words, the subtle signals of tension, and the faint smiles that hid deeper intentions. Arya leaned close. "Kale, what are you thinking?" "Observing," he replied softly. "Patience shows more than reaction. Watch carefully, and you will learn more than any display of words could teach you." As the council began their announcements, the mood shifted. Aliens spoke of regulations, of rules designed to measure intelligence, adaptability, and skill. When humans were mentioned, a few delegates murmured doubtfully, their voices tinged with condescension. They spoke as though humans were too small, too fragile, too ordinary to contribute meaningfully to galactic affairs. Arya felt a flush of anger. But Kale remained calm. His fingers brushed the crystal she carried in her pocket, and she felt a sudden sense of reassurance. Though he said nothing, his quiet presence seemed to challenge the council itself. Later, as the crowd dispersed, Arya turned to Kale. "Why aren't you angry?" she asked. Kale looked at her and smiled faintly. "Anger is noise. Noise can hide understanding. Humans have survived and thrived, not because we shout, but because we think, we adapt, and we act when the moment is right." Arya's admiration for him deepened. She had always known he was remarkable, but now she began to understand just how rare his kind of strength truly was. The following days brought more whispers of intrigue. Delegates questioned city officials, trading partners, and engineers. They examined technologies, tested skills, and evaluated strategies. Humans were scrutinized in ways no other species faced. Some alien citizens treated them with curiosity, others with thinly veiled disdain. Kale, as always, moved quietly through these interactions. While others tried to impress with words, gestures, or displays of skill, he listened. He noted inconsistencies, patterns, and hidden opportunities. Arya watched him with awe. Every small observation he made, every subtle insight he offered in his quiet way, revealed a mind far sharper than most had predicted. One evening, after a long day of council examinations, Arya returned home to find Kale standing in the garden, the glowing plants reflecting in his eyes. "I think the humans are being underestimated again," she said, frustration clear in her voice. Kale nodded. "Yes, but the council does not see what humans are capable of. That is their mistake." Arya crouched beside him. "Do you think humans can really show them? Make them understand?" Kyle looked up at the stars, the three suns having set and leaving the city in soft twilight. "We have to. Humans survive and thrive because we are adaptable, creative, and resilient. If we do not demonstrate our potential, who will?" Arya felt a shiver of excitement. She realized that the quiet man beside her, whom many considered ordinary, carried within him the key to humanity's recognition. His patience, observation, and silent determination were not weaknesses, they were the preparation for something extraordinary. Over the next few days, Kale began taking small, deliberate actions to demonstrate human potential. He helped city engineers solve problems that had stumped even the most advanced species. He offered insights during council discussions that no one else had noticed. And always, he did so quietly, without seeking recognition. Letting his results speak for themselves, people began to notice. Small murmurs of admiration replaced whispers of doubt. Humans, once considered simple and fragile, started to gain respect. And Arya watched it all with pride, understanding that Kale's silence was never emptiness. It was the calm before a storm of brilliance. As the council prepared to leave the city, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. Kale's quiet demonstrations had turned heads, but no one yet understood the full extent of his abilities. Even Arya could only guess at what was possible. That night, as they sat in the soft glow of their home, Arya held Kale's hand. "One day," she whispered, "everyone will see what I see in you." Kale smiled faintly, his fingers brushing hers. "One day, they will. But patience is as important as action. The right moment will come. Arya leaned her head on his shoulder, comforted by the quiet strength he radiated. She knew, deep in her heart, that the silent human she married was about to change everything. And as the stars sparkled above Virelia, she felt the faint thrill of knowing that humanity's time had not yet come, but it was near. The city of Virelia was quiet that morning, its crystal towers glowing softly under the light of the three suns. Arya and Kael walked through the central plaza, their hands brushing occasionally, sharing a silent comfort. The Galactic Council had left a few days ago, but their presence had stirred new curiosity about humans. Many species whispered about Kael, the quiet human who married one of the city's brightest engineers. Rumors hinted that he might possess hidden abilities, but no one could prove it. Kael remained calm, his face showing nothing but gentle patience. To the world, he appeared as ordinary as ever. Yet Arya knew better. She had seen his observations, his quiet insights, his skill in solving problems no one else could. He was not just capable, he was exceptional. That day, a message arrived at their home. It was an invitation from the council itself, asking Kael to attend a demonstration in the city's grand arena. The invitation carried a subtle challenge. They wanted to test humans directly, to see if the species truly deserved a place in interstellar affairs. Arya felt a mix of excitement and worry. "Kael," she said, holding his hand, "this is your chance to show them. But, are you ready?" Kael looked at her with calm certainty. "I have been ready for a long time. Today is just the moment to act." The arena was vast, a circular space large enough to hold thousands. Delegates from multiple worlds filled the stands, their eyes sharp and curious. They whispered among themselves, some smiling with amusement at the thought of testing a human, others frowning in doubt. Kael and Arya entered together, their presence understated but noticeable. The crowd hushed as Kael stepped forward. At his side, he carried nothing at first, no technology, no weapon, just the quiet strength of his presence. The council asked him to demonstrate his abilities, though they did not know what to expect. Murmurs ran through the crowd. "This is just a human," said one delegate. "They cannot possibly do anything extraordinary." Kael closed his eyes for a moment. He could feel the energy of the arena, the vibrations of the crowd, the subtle motions of the council members, the faint hum of machines embedded in the structure. Then, with a calm motion, he reached behind his back and drew a sword from a sheath none had noticed before. Gasps echoed across the arena. The sword was unlike anything seen in the galaxy. Its blade glowed with a soft, shifting light, as if it were alive. Energy rippled along its edges, and faint symbols glimmered across its surface. Delegates leaned forward in their seats, unable to look away. Arya felt a thrill in her chest. She had always known Kael was extraordinary, but even she was amazed by the beauty and power of the sword. Kael held it steadily. "This sword is not just a weapon," he said softly, his voice carrying through the arena without amplification. "It is a tool of understanding. It shows what humans can do when we combine patience, observation, and action." With a graceful motion, Kael moved the sword in a series of slow, deliberate gestures. Each movement caused the air to shimmer and shift, bending light and energy around him. Small objects in the arena floated gently, guided by invisible currents. Crystals, tools, and even fragments of the arena's structure moved as if responding to his will. The delegates were stunned. They had seen technology and power before, but this was different. It was not brute force. It was not loud or chaotic. It was precise, controlled, and beautiful. Kael's sword seemed to channel something deeper, an instinctive understanding of balance, energy, and strategy. Arya watched, her heart swelling with pride. Kael's calm demeanor, his quiet patience, had allowed him to master something no one else could. The sword, and the way he wielded it, was a reflection of his mind, quiet, focused, and profoundly powerful. Then, Kael demonstrated another skill. With the sword, He created intricate patterns of light and energy in the air. They formed symbols and diagrams, each illustrating concepts of balance, strategy, and problem-solving. The delegates realized that Kale was showing them not just power, but human creativity and intelligence. Every gesture revealed insight, innovation, and precision that no machine or alien technology could replicate. The arena fell silent. Even the most skeptical council members could not deny what they were seeing. Humans, the species they had dismissed, possessed unique abilities that combined intelligence, intuition, and adaptability in ways no one had understood. Finally, Kale sheathed the sword. He did not shout or demand recognition. He simply stood, calm and composed, letting the display speak for itself. The delegates slowly rose to their feet, applause spreading through the arena. Some clapped in amazement, others in respect, and a few in quiet disbelief. Arya ran to him, her eyes shining. "Kale, that was incredible," he smiled faintly. "It is not about showing off. It is about understanding, adapting, and acting when the moment is right." The message was clear. Humans were not weak. Humans were not simple. They were capable of brilliance, creativity, and power qualities that no alien species could easily replicate. Kale had not only defended his species' place in the galaxy, he had elevated it. In the days that followed, stories of Kale's demonstrations spread throughout Virelia and beyond. Humans were no longer underestimated. Scholars, engineers, and leaders began to seek their counsel, realizing that their creativity and adaptability were invaluable. Arya watched as her husband, once quiet and overlooked, became a symbol of humanity's potential. Yet Kale remained the same calm, quiet man she had always known. He did not seek fame or recognition. He continued to observe, to learn, and to act with precision and care. And Arya understood that his silence had always been part of his power. It had allowed him to understand, to wait, and to act with perfect timing. That night, as they returned home to their modest house, the city glowing softly around them, Arya felt a deep sense of hope. Humanity had taken its first step toward recognition in the galaxy, and Kale had led the way, not with loud words or flashy displays, but with patience, skill, and quiet brilliance. She squeezed his hand. "The galaxy sees now what I have always known." Kale looked at her, his expression calm and warm. "Yes. But there is still much to do. Recognition is only the first step. Understanding comes next." Arya smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "Then we will face it together." And in the soft glow of their home, the quiet human and the brilliant engineer sat together, knowing that the world had changed that day, but their journey was only beginning. The sword, now sheathed, rested nearby, a symbol not of violence, but of human potential. And Kale, the silent human, had shown the galaxy that greatness often comes in quiet, patient forms. The city of Virelia was alive with whispers of excitement. News of Kale's demonstration in the grand arena had spread far and wide. Humans, once considered weak and ordinary, were now being watched with curiosity, admiration, and, in some cases, disbelief. Scholars studied their methods, engineers asked for their insights, and even the council members began to reconsider their prejudices. Yet for Kale, life remained calm and steady. He did not seek applause or titles. He simply continued to act with quiet confidence and observation. Arya walked beside him one morning as they crossed the city plaza. The streets, usually busy with traders and officials, were now filled with citizens eager to see the human who had changed their perceptions. Some bowed respectfully, others offered greetings, and a few whispered theories about his abilities. "Kale," Arya said softly, "people are starting to see humans differently. They are starting to respect us." Kale glanced at her with a small smile. "Respect is earned, not given. Observation, patience, and action, these are what show our true value." Arya nodded. She understood now that his quiet demeanor was not weakness. It was strength. It allowed him to watch, to learn, and to act at the perfect moment. His abilities, combined with his patience and intelligence, had already begun to change the way the galaxy saw humans. The Council invited Kale to participate in a series of discussions on galactic cooperation. He entered the meeting rooms with his usual calm presence, his sword safely sheathed at his side. While other delegates boasted about their species' achievements or flaunted advanced technology, Kale listened. He asked thoughtful questions, noticed details others overlooked, and offered solutions that were simple, elegant, and effective. During one session, a complex dispute arose between two alien civilizations over resources on a distant planet. Delegates argued fiercely, each claiming superiority and rights. Machines projected maps, graphs, and calculations, yet no solution satisfied both sides. Kale watched silently, observing patterns in their behavior, their language, and even the subtle gestures that revealed hidden intentions. Then he spoke. "The planet's resources can be shared in a way that benefits both civilizations," he said. His tone was calm, almost soft, yet filled with certainty. If one species focuses on renewable energy, while the other develops protective habitats, both will thrive. No one loses, and cooperation is strengthened. There was a pause. Delegates looked at each other, unsure. But as Kale outlined his plan, using logic, observation, and a deep understanding of human creativity, the solution became clear. Slowly, the room erupted in approval. The delegates nodded, some even smiling with surprise. Kale had not only solved the problem, he had shown that humans could think beyond rigid rules, seeing opportunities others missed. Arya watched with pride. Kale's actions demonstrated more than intelligence. They showed adaptability, creativity, and intuition, qualities that defined humans. Every small gesture, every careful word, every observation he made revealed the true potential of her species. Outside the council chambers, humans began to gain recognition across the city. Engineers sought their advice, teachers encouraged young humans to learn, and leaders realized that dismissing them had been a mistake. Slowly, a new respect grew not just for Kale, but for humanity itself. One afternoon, Kale returned to the arena, where he had first demonstrated the power of the sword. He walked among the empty stands, observing the place where he had changed the perception of his species. Arya followed him silently, sensing the quiet significance of the moment. "This place," Kale said softly, "is where people first saw what humans can do. But it is only the beginning. Potential is not proven in one display. It is proven through consistent action, understanding, and the courage to think differently." Arya nodded. "You've already inspired so many. Humans will never be underestimated again." Kale looked out at the city skyline, the crystal towers glowing under the late sun. Recognition is just the start. The challenge now is to show that humans can contribute in every way, through ideas, through problem solving, and through cooperation. We must build trust, not just awe. That evening, they returned to their modest home, where the glowing plants in the garden seemed to welcome them. Arya realized that their life together mirrored the lesson Kale had taught the galaxy. Even in simplicity, there is power. Even in quietness, there is strength. Over the following weeks, Kale continued his work quietly. He collaborated with engineers to improve city infrastructure, helped teachers design new educational programs, and even assisted in mediating minor disputes between species. His calm presence and thoughtful actions became a model for humans and aliens alike. Arya observed how humans began to believe in themselves more. Inspired by Kale's example, young humans started experimenting with new technologies, solving problems in ways no one expected. They were learning to think creatively, to adapt, and to act with confidence. Kale had shown them that intelligence and patience were as important as power and strength. One evening, Arya sat beside him in the garden. "Do you ever get tired?" she asked. Curious about his endless calm, Kale smiled faintly. "No. Humans endure because we can adapt. We can rest when needed, observe when others rush, and act when the moment is right. Patience is as important as action." Arya rested her head on his shoulder. "You've changed the galaxy, Kale. Not with noise or force, but with quiet understanding and brilliance. Kale's gaze was steady. It is not about changing the galaxy alone. It is about showing that humans can contribute. Others will follow when they see what is possible. Our potential is not limited to one act or one display. It grows with every choice we make. As the stars began to sparkle above Virelia, Arya felt a deep sense of hope. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer in doubt. They had shown creativity, intelligence, and resilience. But more importantly, they had learned that their quiet strength could make a lasting impact. Kale's actions had done more than prove a point. They had inspired a movement. Humans were learning to embrace their potential, to act with confidence, and to trust in their own ingenuity. And Arya knew that this was only the beginning. The quiet human she had married was no longer overlooked. He had revealed the power of observation, patience, and thoughtful action. And in doing so, he had reminded the galaxy, and humanity itself, that greatness often comes in unexpected forms. As they walked back to their home, the city glowing softly around them, Arya squeezed Kale's hand. "Tomorrow, we will continue to show the galaxy what humans can do," she said. Kale nodded. "Yes. But always with patience. The right moment makes all the difference." And in that quiet moment, surrounded by the gentle glow of their home and the bustling city beyond, it was clear. Humanity's potential was limitless. And Kale, the silent human, would continue to lead the way, one careful, brilliant action at a time. The city of Virelia had changed. The streets that once whispered about humans with doubt now buzzed with curiosity and respect. The story of Kale, the silent human who had drawn his sword and demonstrated extraordinary abilities, had spread across the galaxy. Delegates, scholars, and engineers no longer underestimated humans. They sought them out, eager to learn from their creativity, adaptability, and intelligence. Arya walked alongside Kale, her eyes reflecting the glow of the three suns. People stopped to greet him politely. Some even bowed in acknowledgement of his past deeds. Yet Kale remained quiet and calm, as he always had, his modest demeanor unchanged by fame. To him, recognition was not the goal. Contribution was. The council had returned to Virelia, this time not as critics, but as observers of a species they had once dismissed. They invited Kale to lead a discussion about cooperation between civilizations, focusing on shared innovation rather than competition. The council chamber, a vast room of crystal walls and hovering light panels, filled with delegates of many species. They watched Kale with renewed attention, curious to see what the silent human would contribute this time. Kale stood before them, the glowing sword safely sheathed at his side. He spoke calmly, outlining ideas for sustainable energy, shared technology, and interstellar collaboration. His words were clear and deliberate, each one carrying insight drawn from observation, creativity, and human intuition. The delegates listened, intrigued, and as Kale continued, they began to nod in agreement. "Humans have always been underestimated," Kale said softly, his eyes sweeping the chamber. "But our strength lies not in raw power or advanced machines alone. It lies in our ability to think, adapt, and solve problems in ways that others may overlook. Cooperation requires understanding, patience, and trust, qualities humans have in abundance." There was a pause. Then, slowly, applause filled the chamber. Delegates who had doubted humanity's capabilities now recognized the wisdom in Kale's words. Murmurs of agreement spread, and even the council members, once skeptical, now nodded with respect. Outside the chamber, Arya felt a surge of pride. She had always known Kale was extraordinary, but seeing the galaxy acknowledge it filled her heart with joy. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were respected, trusted, and recognized for their unique strengths. The following days were filled with opportunities for Kale and other humans to share their skills. Engineers sought their insights to improve city systems. Scholars asked for their creative approaches to complex problems. And in schools, teachers encouraged young humans to explore new ideas, reminding them of Kale's example. Patience, observation, and thoughtful action could achieve more than loud words or flashy displays ever could. One evening, as Arya and Kale walked through their garden, now full of softly glowing plants that symbolized life and growth, she turned to him. "You've changed the galaxy, Kale. Humans are no longer just a quiet species, they are seen, respected, and admired." Kale smiled faintly. "Recognition is only part of it. We must continue to show what humans can do. Every problem solved, every act of understanding, strengthens the trust we have built." Arya rested her head on his shoulder. "Do you think humans will continue to grow and make a difference?" Kale's gaze was calm, thoughtful. "Humans are capable of more than most species realize. Our potential is not limited to one planet, one city, or one moment. It grows every time we observe, learn, and act wisely." In the days that followed, Kale led projects across Virelia and beyond. He worked with engineers to create energy systems that were both powerful and sustainable. He collaborated with teachers to develop programs that encouraged creativity and critical thinking among young humans. And he mediated discussions between alien civilizations, showing that humans could be both insightful and fair. Arya watched as humans gained confidence. They began to explore new ideas, solve problems in unexpected ways, and approach challenges with courage and ingenuity. Kale's example had inspired them to embrace their strengths. Humans were learning that their quiet intelligence, patience, and adaptability could make a lasting impact on the galaxy. One day, as Kale returned to the arena where he first drew his sword, he paused and looked around. The empty stands reminded him of the moment when he had first demonstrated the potential of his species. He remembered the awe, the surprise, and the respect that had followed. But now, the arena symbolized more than a single display. It represented the growth of humans, their recognition, and the promise of what they could achieve. Arya joined him, her hand brushing his. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" she asked. Kale nodded. "Always. Potential is endless. Today, we are recognized. Tomorrow, we must continue to create, to learn, and to act wisely. Our legacy will not be in a single moment, but in the ongoing growth of humanity." Arya smiled. "Then we will face it together." Kale looked at her, the calm strength in his eyes unwavering. "Yes. Together, humans will continue to prove that even a quiet, patient species can achieve greatness in a universe full of noise and power." The city of Virelia thrived, reflecting the new respect for humans. Young humans learned that their ideas mattered, that their creativity could solve complex problems, and that patience and observation were as powerful as advanced technology. Humans began to explore new planets, share their insights, and form alliances across the galaxy. Kale and Arya's home remained a quiet sanctuary amidst the bustling city. The glowing garden, now more vibrant than ever, symbolized life, growth, and the enduring potential of humanity. Every evening, they would sit together, reflecting on the progress made and planning for the future. One night, under the light of the three suns setting and the stars beginning to sparkle, Arya looked at Kale. "Do you think the galaxy will ever forget what you've done?" "Ah," Kale smiled softly. "Perhaps. But it is not about being remembered. It is about showing what humans are capable of, inspiring others, and continuing to act with thought and care. That is our legacy." Arya nodded. "And what a legacy it is." As the stars shimmered above Virelia, a sense of peace and possibility filled the air. The quiet human who had drawn his sword and shown the galaxy the potential of his species had not only proven humanity's worth, he had inspired it. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were trusted, respected, and ready to take their place among the stars. And Kale, the silent human, stood as a beacon of patience, intelligence, and quiet strength. With Arya by his side, he would continue to guide humanity forward, showing the galaxy that true power often comes from understanding, creativity, and the courage to act wisely. The sword rested sheathed nearby, a symbol not of conflict, but of potential. And in the calm of their home, surrounded by the glowing city and the infinite stars beyond, Kyle and Arya knew that humanity's journey had only just begun. The galaxy had witnessed the quiet brilliance of one human, and now it had a new legacy to follow: the enduring, boundless potential of humanity itself.